Okay, everyone, we're getting ready to start, so please get your seats, and we will get going. Kicking off our afternoon sessions, we're very honored to have with us today Nathan Pettyjohn with the VRAR Association, and we have just started working together as industry partners between Industrial Immersive and the VRAR Association. They've got a whole lot of resources that I think you'll find of interest. Hopefully, Nathan will tell us a little bit about that as well, as he discusses bridging the industrial skilled workforce gap with XR and AI. So no further ado, I'll turn it over to Nathan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate the warm welcome. And yes, the VRAR Association is excited to be partnered with your organization and do a lot more together. So thanks for joining after lunch. Today, I am going to be, let's go back one. I'm going to be talking about solving the skilled workforce gap with XR and AI technology. And I got started in this industry probably 10 years ago. Anyone in this room, did you ever have experience with a technology called Project Tango that Google did? I see a couple, yeah. Running on the Lenovo Fab 2 Pro mobile device. Amazing jaw-dropping technology, doing 3D point cloud scanning and being able to track where that device was within centimeters of accuracy. It was a little bit ahead of its time, and I think one of the things that I'm going to focus on today is that there's maturity in this industry from the hardware, the cloud environment, the software, the ability to stream data. When we were working back 10 years ago with Google on this, like we would go scan an airport, for example, and their cloud environment couldn't even handle all the spatial data that was needed to really deliver on an application solution. So we're gonna dive into that today. A little bit on my background. I did work at Lenovo for about 4 years as the global go-to-market lead for XR. Left there a couple of years ago to launch the Immerse Group, doing consulting work on go-to-market, business development, and implementing XR technologies, and then founded the VRAR Association back in 2015. So what I'm going to do today is walk you through kind of the problem at hand that we have in terms of the skilled workforce gap. Some of the solutions, we're going to go through a couple of different use cases. Hopefully, you'll get some good ROI metrics that you're going to see here as well. And then finally, we'll wrap up just with some considerations as you go to implement these technologies. 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day for the next 19 years. Actually, this is a couple of years old, this stat, so it's maybe the next 15 years. But that is a profound amount of people that are retiring, and a lot of them are in this skilled workforce. We're already seeing that about 50% of companies are saying they are having challenges fulfilling that workforce need. So this is a huge, huge problem at hand. And if you just bake that down right into the manufacturing category alone, by 2030, we're looking at almost 7.9 million workers in terms of a deficit that we can't fill. And that results in over $600 billion in unrealized economic output. And that's just the manufacturing category alone. So when you look at this, it's a massive problem, and there's a lot of different technologies and processes that have to come together to solve it. And we're going to talk a little bit about how XR is one of the key components, and especially with the advancements in AI, how that's being baked in as well. The other consideration is that the workforce now, 75% are millennials. And this workforce is moving into different types of jobs at a faster rate. But the nice thing is they're very open to digital innovation in terms of how it's applied in the workforce. And not only that, they expect it. So that leaves a huge opportunity for XR technologies to fill this gap. One of the reasons we should really pay attention to this, you may have seen this statistic before. We're not hearing the metaverse term as much, but it really encompasses all immersive technologies. And if you look at some of these statistics, it just shows evidence that this is a massive market opportunity that not only is going to be in the enterprise sector, but in everyone's everyday lives. So it's something that we all need to embrace, especially in the enterprise. And then if we start drilling down into the ROI metrics in terms of the skilled workforce categories, within the warehouse ecosystem, we're seeing 15 to 35% productivity gains in the picking process, Manufacturing is getting down to like almost 0% error rates because you're getting guided workflows and assistance that you're able to access in real time. And then, of course, field service, we're seeing 30 to 40% reduction in the time to resolution. So I'm going to walk through a few use cases today. One of those is digital twins for training and compliance. The other is VR and AR training for upskilling, safety, and interpersonal. And then mixed reality for field maintenance and remote expert. Digital twins is one of these things that means a lot to different people. But I wanted to give just a quick note on, there's a company called Resight. They're based out of Israel. And they're really applying this technology in new ways that makes it extremely easy to deploy in the field. Some of the use cases are for predictive maintenance, process optimization, and supply chain management. But I'm going to play this little video here. This is just done on an iPhone. Their technology runs on an iPhone, Android. It's being deployed into drone camera technology as well. And so you've probably seen this if you're in the industry, but you're able to very quickly, within just seconds, go in and scan an environment, capture all of the visual data, but then also, all of the surface and plane detection. And that can be shared not only in the cloud, but on the edge and even mesh networks. So when there's high security requirements, this can be done almost instantaneously now. Then you're able to take all this plane data. You can go in an environment online, put digital content on top of it for use cases that encompass training. And overall, I think what you're seeing is this is becoming much more mature, and it can be deployed at scale. So we've got one major Fortune 100 company that I know that's looking at Resight, and they're going to deploy this with thousands of workers that are able to go out and just use an iPhone to scan and update facilities. And then that gets loaded into a cloud, and it can be instantly looked at to see, hey, are we in compliance with what we should be? Another really good use case, and this is a little video that I'm just going to play for you, but it's a really good example of applying some AI technology along with NVIDIA's Omniverse digital twin technology. And the ROI is extreme. I mean, they're getting 4,000 times faster simulations in the energy sector. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video.
Total worldwide wind energy capacity currently exceeds 750 gigawatts and is growing faster than ever, with an additional 650 gigawatts to be added in the next 5 years. For companies like Siemens Gamesa Renewable Energy, optimizing the configuration of each new wind farm is critical for getting the most out of their investment and reducing costs for consumers. When designing a wind farm, it's critical to place each turbine so as to minimize the effects the turbines have on each other due to the wake that they create. Accurately modeling the wake requires high-resolution, high-fidelity simulation data that is specific to that wind farm, such as the geographic location and the terrain. The gold standard for generating this data is the large eddy simulation shown here. But to run just one iteration for a single turbine can take 40 days on a 100-core CPU. And with so many iterations needed to develop an accurate model for a specific site, using CPUs is impractical. Using NVIDIA Modulus and NVIDIA Omniverse, Siemens Gamesa has been able to reduce that 40 days to just 15 minutes, approximately 4,000 times faster. This is accomplished by running the model at a lower resolution, and then, with a PhysicsML model trained using Modulus, to enhance or super resolve the data. And the results are functionally equivalent to having run the model at full resolution. Let's take a look at the same data presented in a way that clearly highlights the coarseness of the low-resolution simulation. Here, they look like pixelated blobs. In the super-resolved flow field, you can see the finer vortex structures. Now that we have the simulation data, we can build an accurate weight model for the site and optimize the placement of each turbine. Thousands of iterations, accelerated by NVIDIA GPUs, are run as part of the optimization to achieve the maximum power output for each farm while minimizing the cost. And the impact is huge. When using NVIDIA Modulus and Omniverse for a typical 1,000 megawatt offshore wind farm, optimization can provide power to supply up to 20,000 additional homes, and to do it at 10% lower cost.
So a really good example there, and then I'm going to transition into kind of like the VR training component. And being able to take even digital twins like this and apply it into virtual reality and doing training. PwC has done some really phenomenal research on the impact of VR training, and we have one of the greats in the audience here today. So Jeremy's here if you want to talk to him about some of the research that was done. I think he was a part of this and instrumental as well. But when you look at the effectiveness, right, you're seeing 40% improvement in confidence compared to classroom learners, 35% more attuned to taking action. And then the cost savings gets pretty significant as well, with 52% less cost training in VR versus classroom. 4 times faster training time of V learners versus e-learning, 3.75 times more emotionally connected. And I think that's important, especially when you're considering safety training. That emotional connection really helps people to understand the value of that. And then being 4 times more focused in V training versus E training. So appreciate the PwC team for really diving in and doing tremendous work in this ecosystem. I also wanted to highlight Motive with a great case study, and their team is here today as well. But this is a great just example of how like Chevron is taking their technology and being able to build out their own training simulations and drastically reduce the time that it took from going in and trying to build those things from scratch. And now they can use these modules and do it on their own. And so you can see tremendous amount of cost savings in taking the time to produce these modules from like 6 months down to 6 to 9 weeks. And especially when you spread that over thousands of employees, that's a dramatic improvement. Then if we look at the VR training in shipping and logistics, there's 3 quick examples that I thought were really profound. If you look at what Walmart did with implementing VR training for its truck drivers, they had 70% improvement in retention, which is phenomenal. 20% increase in employee confidence, and then you can see a 6-to-1 ROI that they had in reduced accidents, fuel efficiency, and operations. UPS had a similar scenario where they went in and did training on hazardous situations and saw like a 40% reduction in accidents. So I think the key here, among all these is that people are experiencing these situations versus just reading about it or watching videos. And then DHL did this within their order picking process and found that the VR training really improved with a 20% increase in order fulfillment and 15% decrease in errors. So overall, we're seeing this across many of these different categories. And this is just a really simple way to take a look at this. There's a lot more sophisticated ROI models to run, but it gets really easy to show an ROI with VR training, especially at large corporations where you're looking at significant investments being made in these employees. And in this example, it's only looking at like 10% of the training being done in virtual reality, and you start to realize millions of dollars in savings in the training itself, and then the benefits of that carry over tremendously. So one other example that I wanted to highlight is kind of the guided workflows in Remote Expert. Some of you in this room are probably pretty familiar with this scenario, but we see consistently a 30 to 40% reduction time in resolving issues. And this is a great video, and I wanted to play tribute to Lenovo, where I formerly was at. This is the ThinkReality A3 device working alongside with Sphere in this scenario. So we'll play that.
ThinkReality certified solutions are revolutionary AR applications that enhance the way you work. Guided workflows allow you to perform complex tasks, reduce repair times, and eliminate errors with step-by-step instructions or instant access to product manuals, all while your hands are free to work. When the task is complete, simply notify your manager by submitting a report to the ThinkReality platform. Optimize your workflow with ThinkReality certified solutions.
Yes, I think what's key to this is giving these field reps a hands-free experience to get guided assistance as they do their work and perform a lot more efficiently. So there's a lot of different solutions on the market, but as you look at all the different array of solutions, these are some of the considerations I think that it's important to note, to look at. And really it's first diving into like who are you putting these solutions out there for? Is it for new workers? Is it upskilling existing? Is it HR and interpersonal? Is it field maintenance? And then of course all the different platforms that are out there. I know at the VRAR Association, as an example, I mean, in the not too distant future, we were tracking, we were tracking over like 300 companies a month that were kind of launching new solutions in the space. And so there's literally thousands of options that you could look at. And so taking a really calculated approach to the platforms, the software that's being used, and then ultimately diving into the KPIs and then how to scale that, I think is really key. So one of the key elements that, as you look at all those components, this is really interesting as you look at digital transformation, and we talked about this a lot when I was at Lenovo, is like 70% of them fail because you don't get employee buy-in. So I think one of the key considerations is, yeah, this technology is awesome and we can have great pilots, but there needs to be like a change management plan in place to encourage that workforce to embrace the new technology and utilize it regularly. Otherwise, it can fail. So this is just kind of like a snapshot of kind of who our team at the Immerse Group helps, everything from corporate L&D to product managers, marketing and sales teams as well. And I think XR has a place for all of it. There's a lot of different companies that we interact with through both the association and through the Immerse Group. And so we try to tap into all these different companies, and there's dozens and dozens more of them. But being able to pull from case studies from a lot of these different companies, make introductions and pull in the right partners is also very key. And then this is just kind of in wrapping up here, just a snapshot of some of the key considerations to look at as you're trying to deploy these technologies. So I think a lot of times in the early stages, I see a lot of people, they don't really look at like, hey, what's my current financial situation? What are my exact costs today? And then, where do I want to get going forward? A lot of times it's just like, hey, let's take this cool technology. But one of the key elements in driving success in that change management is showing the financial benefits. And then obviously pulling together the right KPIs, evaluating all the solutions, deploying a proper POC, and then figuring out how to scale that is always critical. So with that, I'll wrap up. And if anyone is interested, I would highly suggest getting involved with the VRAR Association. It's a great network, and we're partnered with this organization here, and we look forward to doing more in the industrial space. So thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you very much, Nathan. I appreciate it. And does anyone have any questions that they wanted to do? And he unpacked quite a bit moving forward. A lot of great stats there and a few good use cases. Are there any questions for Nathan about his presentation or about the VRAR Association or the Immerse Group that someone would like to ask? Got it. Hold on.
I just saw you've got how the return on investment was so high on some of these VR. Is there somewhere where we could go and see samples of like the Walmart, or just to see kind of how they improved for their truck drivers or?
Yeah, I think so. There is. In fact, you're sitting right next to like one of the global thought leaders in that space that has probably more data than anybody in the room, I would say, right, Jeremy? So yeah, we could help make the connection in a couple of different ways. And the association tries to pull together a lot of different industry reports, and we have all these committees that bring those together. So that's kind of another area that you might want to tap into. There's about 25 industry committees that meet regularly and kind of share a lot of this information. So.
Yeah, there's several that are certainly close to this industry, but for sure their Industrial Metaverse Digital Twins group has a lot of players who are here. A lot of the companies and a lot of the individuals leading programs. So that's a really good one to get involved with. So other questions? Hold on.
So I currently use Immerse, and I'm using like 5 other things trying to figure out what to do with VR. And it's hard because I'm a urban planner. I'm building 3D printed smart homes that are all Raspberry Pi and fully automated, connected, and solar panel and all this other stuff. It's a conjunction of urban transition problems. I'm a social worker by trade. When I use Immerse, thinking about how I can bring people into it to host virtual conferences has been kind of a barrier. But the other thing is that when it comes to urban planning, I have to shift over to like the software that it doesn't use or support, like Arclo. So I have to close down Immerse, which doesn't allow me the same ability to like integrate the usage of it, just with having the multiple screens. So is there a integration that's happening? Because I'm having to close down Immerse just so the headset can even pick up Arclo.
Yeah, so I think the question was about, and I'll help explain for everybody. The question was about, there's a software and hardware company called Immersed. They're actually a client that we work with, and we're helping them take the success they've had in a B2C environment and move it into an enterprise environment. So I'm probably not able to speak too much on the product pipeline, but for those of you who aren't familiar, this is a company that's built virtual monitors that's an extension of your laptop. So I can be sitting at this laptop, I can have a VR headset on, and I've got like 3 to 5 virtual monitors that can scale up, feeling like you're looking at a 55-inch monitor. And then you can pop into virtual environments with other workers sitting around you, and you can hear them and talk to them. And so I think the question was like, hey, you know, could I pull other 3D applications and tools into that? So I think that's a question that's getting asked all the time, and so I think it's inevitable that it will happen. And I can connect you with the right people if you've got some specific requests to do that. But I think that's another good point that you make that I'll touch on, because we talked a lot about the skilled worker and how they're applying this. A solution like Immersed, and you're seeing it with Apple Vision Pro as well, the virtual monitor experience is going to open up a whole new greenfield opportunity for the knowledge worker and added productivity beyond what we've seen to date. So it's a really cool environment and kind of a new one in the XR industry. But you know, I think you'll see people maybe doing some training on virtual monitor experience and then training in a 3D full 6DoF environment as well.
Okay. Thank you very
Hopefully
much, Nathan, for answering that. And it's great to hear about folks who are attending here who go beyond the industrial into the smart cities and urban planning. So a lot of different places that XR is being utilized. That's great. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up, if that's okay. Nathan, will you be available outside for other questions for a little bit?
Yeah, I'll be here the rest of the day.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you,
you.
Nathan.